All right, good morning, everyone. How's everybody doing today? You excited to talk about your story, hear a little bit about my story, be inspired by some other stories, perhaps? So my name is Marcel Allen. I own a company called Dreamosity, and Dreamosity is the word mash of dreams plus curiosity plus generosity. How can we be more generous with technology? You all have a story that you're in the middle of, right? You may be on chapter 25, you may be on chapter 65. It doesn't matter. We're all in the middle of a story, and we contribute to other people's stories. And sometimes we take from other stories if we are being served at that point. For the last 8 years, I've been helping people with social media management and online video training and leveraging Pinterest. And how the heck could we use Pinterest for the financial industry, right? All sorts of fun questions that have popped up. And I want to share today a little bit about my story and how I got to where I am. And then I'm going to tell 3 very specific stories of client kind of success stories and the visions of the stories and how they may inspire your business story to advance with social media. Who here actually likes social media? You guys kind of resist it? You like it? You're in the game? Are you being profitable with it yet? Able to be charitable with it? So there's a lot of pieces that come into how we leverage social media and how we leverage video and the internet. And I'll get to that. So again, my name is Marcel. My nickname is Hallmark. I'm one of those people who is ridiculously optimistic. I'm very positive. Ever since I was a little girl, I wanted to make people smile, right? My parents got divorced when I was 5, and my sister was kind of the troubled sister, and I was the one saying, "Ooh, look what I did. Isn't this nice?" Right? Trying to get that social approval from an early age, learning what makes people smile, what makes people laugh, what makes people say, "Oh yeah, can I play with you?" Right? This whole fun perspective on it. And life hasn't always been perfect, but for the most part, I look up and I try to look up. I went to school here in Issaquah. Do you guys know Sunset Elementary? Then I went to Pine Lake Middle School, graduated Issaquah High School, class of 2001. Learned a little bit about business. Actually, in high school, I was a Key Club class president, which was very fun, although I was only selected to be in that because my friend went to Brazil to do a mission trip, right? So that was my first experience of what is a mission trip, and it was my friend leaving, and I was like, okay, so I don't get to be vice president, I get to be president now. And I scaled that club from 35 members to 65 members in about a year, 6 months. It was a phenomenal experience, a promotion and having to do public speaking and having to, kind of rally the troops, if you will. And it was a ton of fun. And now fast forward, I went to, what was it called, Young Life in high school. I did a little bit of that. I didn't get baptized until I was about 19 at Western. I went to Western Washington University, studied business and English, and technically I got a general studies degree because I couldn't decide. I wanted to do it all. I wanted to do journalism. I wanted to do physical therapy. I wanted to do business. I wanted to do everything, and I had to decide. So I decided, but I loved at Western because that was actually my first connection with people who really loved on me and poured into me and served my story, and it was phenomenal, and I learned a lot, and I got to serve, and it was just a wonderful experience. So I love sharing that because I think college are those years where you're discovering who you are, and it was just a wonderful time. So fast forward to my first big corporate job. Do you guys ever remember your first big corporate job, or maybe you started out as an entrepreneur? I worked at Boeing. Big Hallmark personality, right? Creative butterfly. They put me in this cubicle, inside of a cubicle, and I was miserable. I absolutely hated it. I thought it was very, very painful and just socially not flourishing, right? It's very logical, and I'm pretty analytical. I've got some great diagrams for you, John, today that we're going to get to, cool. Which is wonderful. But I ended up quitting that job, and I was struggling, right, with my own mental health, my own challenges, and I was like, who am I? What am I supposed to do here? What is my purpose? What am I called to do in life? It can't just be to be a cubicle person. And so I got a lot of support from some great resources, and I remember talking to my dad saying, well, isn't there a company that helps people develop their dreams and helps them imagine and experiment and play and create their dream? And he was like, no, honey, just find a job somewhere where there's good benefits and good income. And well, I didn't listen very well at that point. So I went to California for a couple years, and I just on this life journey, and we all have journeys. But I got to support people. I started actually transcribing business plans in Silicon Valley for people who were wanting to raise capital because I could type really fast. And it's interesting when you go to raise capital and you're creative and you've got a business idea, you don't always have the ability to process it, but if you speak it to somebody, you may have better luck when writing a business plan. Anyway, I learned a lot about marketing. Somehow I got to Florida. I think I was chasing a boy. You know, if you talk about the cups and the things we fill our cups with that may or may not be valuable. So I go to Florida and it was amazing. Warm. I mean, have you guys been to Florida? The sandy beaches, you walk into the water there and it is like a bathtub. Nothing like Seattle, right? Absolutely amazing. I was like, yeah, this is kind of dream come true. You know, amazing things are happening. And then I got in a car accident, whiplash, major whiplash. And I was like, oh, what do I, you know, how am I going to get back home? And I was kind of, you know, struggling in a sense. And my chiropractor was actually my first social media client because he was this really cool guy. He did mixed martial arts and he had really cool business, very profitable in Aventura, California. And he was like, hey, you seem to know about Facebook, right? And I was like, well, yeah, I grew up with Facebook. Ever since I was a senior in college, I've had Facebook, and that's how we communicate. And I was one of those gals who I trusted Google more than I trusted my parents. And I would search things on Pinterest more than I would, you know, ask a girlfriend, because we were, as millennials, I'm technically a millennial, we had the world's resources at our fingertips, and we could search and we could find things. Anyway, first job there, he said, you know, how much would it be for you to manage my Facebook? And I was like, $1,000. And he says, here you go, you're in business, right? So that's how I started my business. Kind of funny, it wasn't a full official plan, but sometimes that's not how it happens. Sometimes these magical, strange things happen. So Dreamosity was formed, and I've been helping people with their businesses. And I'm going to share with you kind of a perception. Here's a diagram. I have a couple of these if you guys want one. But what I realized with social media management, I've been doing this for 8 years, right? So I've helped scale some people from 35,000 fans to 100,000 fans in 6 months. I've also helped people get their first 100 fans. There's been a whole range of business stories that have come from, you know, me contributing to what I call remarkable leaders. And not everybody on my business journey is someone I would call a remarkable leader. Sometimes people just want quick and easy, and social media doesn't tend to work in those situations. So on this matrix, I created this maybe 3 years ago to help explain what I do for people. Because a lot of people are like, well, what the heck is a social media manager and how does it actually work? So on the far left, we're measuring expertise, right? Rookie, A, double A, so like a baseball metaphor of a rookie is a brand new beginner, doesn't know what they're doing. An expert or an MVP, they've been in the game 5-10 years. They've written a book, they've published a couple courses, they've been on stage, they've been on King 5 perhaps, or they're doing, you know, they're an expert at their field. And on the top, we go from small audience to large audience. So anywhere from 0 to 100,000, all the way up to 1 million, right? So all of our businesses have the ability to contribute to 10 people, 100 people, 100,000 people, right? We all have the ability with technology to reach pretty far if we want. And so the little stars there are just a couple examples of some business stories. And part of what I want to inspire today is this idea of what's your vision for your story? Is your story to help 1,000 people? Maybe develop a budget, or maybe it's to help 10 people buy their first home, or you want to help 100,000 people learn a new language. It could be anything, but when we can put numbers to our story, into our vision, we can then enroll other people into that vision. And this is where some of the clients I've worked with over the years have not had a calling or a vision, and they just want to, you know, sell more homes or sell more tires or sell more jewelry, and it's about the commercial side of it, which social media can definitely help that. But when you have a vision that is 100,000 people strong, or even 1,000 people strong, you can enroll other people into the vision. And that's part of what I love about the people I've really helped excel, and I encourage you to get clear on that vision, because people will come out of the woodworks to support you when you have a grand vision. And so can you guys see where you might be on the thing? You've probably seen, you know, Paul, with your company, you started as a rookie and you've worked your way up, and you've probably helped thousands of clients by this point, which is pretty amazing. And the question is, well, where do you want to take it next? How could you help more people? How could you leverage technology to be really generous and help people in other countries or other cities or other, you know, cultural demographics perhaps? And so with technology, we can do really amazing things. I'm going to dive into 3 different stories. And before I do, I just want to share that, oh good, it's working. So the diagram, I'm going to match a story to the diagram so you can follow the journey. Because the biggest objection I get with social media management is people are like, well, what's the ROI? How do I know if it's working? And well, it depends. Everybody's different. Because if you're selling a $500 product versus a $10,000 product versus a $25 product, it's very, very, very different. And actually, I want to back up real quick. Do you guys like number droppers? I'm going to drop some numbers for you because they're good and they can help people understand what's possible. So one of those middle stars, I helped a woman selling an $800 course make $40,000 on Pinterest in 1 month with a Pinterest contest, right? So when people think, one of the myths about technology is that it takes a long time to make money. Well, if you've got a good product and if you're willing to run ads and do kind of unique or creative things, money can happen really quickly. It can also happen really slowly. Some people, their goal is just to get, across out of America. They want their video to be seen by somebody in Europe or in Australia, right? So you can get your videos in other places. My Les Brown story, who knows Les Brown? It's one of my favorite stories. Motivational speaker. He's like, he's one of the jolliest, most, he used to charge like $35,000 for keynotes, which is crazy as a public speaker. But he's got a huge vision to help train 100,000 public speakers to develop their voice, their mission, their ability to articulate what they're called to do. So I helped scale his brand from 35,000 to 100,000 fans in 6 months, right? So when you're looking at your vision, if you only have a vision for 1,000, how are you ever going to get to 100,000? So I want to encourage you to think bigger about your own business story and how fast and how far could it go. Okay, so we'll drive in and give some specifics. So Lisa Hawkinson was one of my clients, one of the sweetest women I know, and I met her. So I'll back up real quick. My husband passed away about 3 years ago, so I'm a young widow, right? Not very fun. I've had a lot of growing and grief and just challenges that I've had to overcome, and her book, Calm Your Chaos, has helped me kind of get my stuff together, and I've now gone from 2 storage units to 1, and I'm looking at getting my own place, and it's really exciting. But the idea is you all have expertise that can help people who are hurting, people who are struggling, people who are just like, where do I go from here? And I can guarantee you that your clients and your ideal clients and your prospects and your friends, they're searching for things, maybe in the wrong places, maybe they should be going to a mentor, but they're going to Google, they're going to Pinterest, they're going to Instagram, they're looking for solutions. And part of what I've learned this year about Dreamosity and the goal of who I want to serve is it's not just people who want to sell a home, because anybody can do that. It's people who want to be listening to what their marketplace is talking about, because the people who are grieving are looking for a different type of companionship than somebody who wants to make their first million, right? Or people who want to find the perfect outfit to wear or whatever, right? So part of social media is beautiful because we can listen, and she's been extremely coachable and listening to the needs of her marketplace or of her community. So this is her journey that we've been on together for the last 1.5 years, as she's gone from somebody who, while she may have had expertise as an author, nobody knew that until we started to promote the book and her on stage. And so there's different tactics. The top left is a meme. Do you guys know what memes are? They're little text over images, this idea that anybody on your team can create a snippet of a message. And the reason these are powerful for your story, your business story, is because when people are Googling something late at night, you want to pop up. And they don't want to read an essay. They don't want to read a book at that point. They want to read this micro content that can help them understand quickly, this person is going to be someone who can help me, or this is how I take care of X, Y, Z. So pretty cool. Social imagery. I have people all the time who are like, well, I have no advertising budget. What can I do? Take a photo, right? If we want to grow marketplace connections, let's start doing a photo at every event to then have what's called social proof. This idea that your business is real and legit and people care and they're coming. Doing interviews. So different things to increase your perceived expertise is to do interviews. Whether you interview other members of your community, you get interviewed in the press, you interview a friend to learn what their needs are. The minute you go from just thinking of your own mentality, your own thoughts, to let me interview an expert or let me find out what their expertise is, it elevates that perceived value, which is pretty phenomenal. Collaborating with bigger events. So this other picture here, Lisa was in front of 200 people one day for a huge women's self-care workshop, where then she got to be able to serve and support their needs, which was a much different approach than just posting to Facebook, right? So there's a lot of angles you may have to try to help develop that successful business. And of course, creating a course. She created her first course this year where we can then sell it all across the country, right? We're not just stuck to Bothell and Bellevue anymore. We can go beyond, which is pretty phenomenal. So if you know anybody looking to calm their chaos and get their office place together, we have those available. The other thing with sales and social media is knowing the benefit of the benefit. Do you know what the benefit of the benefit of the benefit is of your product or service right now? Like, what's the benefit of me being here right now, or anybody being here? And so for Lisa, while she's a home organizer, the benefit of people having an organized home is they can host a dinner party. They can have people into their guests and they can serve them, they can love them, they can pray for them, they can be a part of their journey. But if you're a hoarder and you can't walk down to the hallway, how are you gonna be able to bless somebody? How do you bless someone if you don't even have the ability? So once you get clear on that, then you can have a vision like Lisa does now to how do I help 100,000 people or 10,000 people have dinner parties? And what's remarkable about that is last Christmas was pretty rough for me because it was still early grief and I was just like, everyone's having fun, everybody's married and kids, and what am I gonna do? And it was kind of just a downer. But this year, thanks to Lisa, I was able to, I think it was right after Thanksgiving, in a dinner party, actually Sandy was there, I posted to Facebook, I don't want to do a single dinner alone in December. Who wants to have dinner with me? So I just kind of put it out there, very courageous, because normally I wouldn't ask for that type of thing. But people responded. So I had a dinner party or a dinner friend or something every single night in December, right? So the ability that her vision, because I didn't even think, what's the point of dinner parties? Like I didn't value that. I was just, eating at Taco Bell inconveniently whenever. So your business story can then contribute this ripple effect to hundreds of other people, which is exactly what's happened, which is beautiful. Okay, so as you can see, we've worked our way up, and then the circles, you'll like this from the community standpoint. If you want to have multiple communities that you serve, you kind of want to build out a matrix of where are those communities. So there's a lot of Facebook groups or LinkedIn groups, 12,000 people, 8,000 people, 400 people big. You want to be in those groups so you can serve them, you can support them, you can share with them. Eventually you might be able to sell to them. The idea is that if you can get a visual on the communities you're connected to, you can then be a better leader for them essentially. So you definitely want to identify some great communities and eventually then lead your own, right? So she's got a great community, the Smooth Organizer community, where we don't have to be perfect and we don't have to be dramatic, but we can find this happy balance. How do we be, whether it's grief or overwhelm or financial stress or too much stuff, how do we get through that? So it's been amazing working with Lisa in that. I want to share with you a little bit about Laugh Tech. Has anybody here heard about Laugh Tech? So it's a humor-based education company, kind of competitive with Toastmasters, but not as rough as maybe like a comedy club, but there's this improv meets public speaking. Because if you can make people laugh, and if you can be more memorable on stage, and if your videos are actually compelling, people will watch them to the end. And that's what I found is that when we're boring on video, people drop off. And the metrics, they will show you, John, like if you're talking and 10 seconds in, they're out, it's like, oh shoot, how do I make this more memorable? How do I help them? So I want to encourage you all to develop your mix of humor. But with that, this has been a story in kind of branding success and then just collaborating with the local community. But one of the things that's I find it funny about this is there's two of us that run this organization, and we've been on King 5 and we've helped 200 people and we've done a lot of really cool things, but it's the branding that's elevated it. So when you want to elevate the perceived perception in the marketplace, branding, a high quality logo, consistency in the branding and the color schemes, right? So sometimes you'll see businesses, they'll do hot pink one week and then black and white and teal. Don't do that, you look like a rookie, right? So you want to have that consistency and somebody on your team to help protect that branding so it doesn't go all over the place. So while our stories, they're all different, but there's colors and there's ways to protect them and enhance them. Because you don't want to start a great business and have some new admin person or a nephew that's home from the weekend, home from college for the summer, to ruin your brand with crazy colors and randomness. So anyway, this has been a fun journey, and the dot on the far right was our King 5 show that we were on, which is kind of cool. So think about how could your business get on King 5? What's the story that would benefit hundreds of thousands of people? And if you don't know somebody and you have a story that you want to get there, I know a guy, so I would love to help somebody get there. But what's interesting about Geek 5 is it can be great for visibility, but it's not necessarily going to get you tons of sold tickets or new business, maybe a couple leads, but you're still better off with your warm market and networking events. So anyway, different ways you can grow your audience. Facebook ads. Who here has experimented with Facebook ads? So I always tell people, if you're spending $5 a day on coffee, which some of us do and used to do, you could be reaching 250 people a day with that $5. So even a $20 a month ad budget could be getting you in front of 1,000 people. So let me ask you, how important is your message? Right? Are you willing to invest in more people knowing about that message? Because we could have even double capacity here if we wanted to. So thinking about running ads, that could be something that could serve the community. Okay, again, looking at different communities. So we started out with a small group. I started a group called Humor Heals, which you're all invited to join. It's a fun group all about how humor can help connect people, right? Because when we're grieving, it's really, and this is one of my things I struggled with the church. It was hard to go to church, and just because it's so sad and you don't, it's just a weird feeling. And I didn't want to just go out to the bars and drink because that didn't sound like fun either. But where was the fun thing that we could do, right? So humor became for me really incredible, part of my growth, and just kind of, again, Hallmark. I was like Tigger with this ball and chain on my ankle, and I'm like, I'm supposed to be grieving, but I want to feel good. I want to celebrate life. I want to be a part of people's story and do great things. But I just want to encourage you to dream big. Oh, that big circle there. Your colleagues and your industry partners probably have industry groups already. So we found a group with about maybe 1,200 comedians. So now we're able to pull from a pool of talent, to interview, to learn, to pull from what makes them, funny, and then teach that to other people. So be thinking about who are your power partners online and how can you find them. A couple more communities, and you start building communities and connecting. And then this gal, just recently, I started working with her. I'd consider her a remarkable leader. Oh wait, let me back up. The vision here is not just to make people funny, but like the mental health industry, and a lot of what's sad about that is people are bullied. People have been bullied for years in schools and at home. And what I learned about my husband's situation was there's things like financial abuse and elder abuse and institutional abuse, and a lot of people don't realize that bullying can come from multiple angles. And so part of our vision here is to help equip people to be more resilient, so when they do have hardships, they don't get stuck. Okay, so Bena, which is a traditional hand knitting company here out of Issaquah. Who here knits? Who here wishes they knew how to knit? So we're not a knitting crowd, and that's okay. This woman has a fire in her heart and her mind and a calling to help preserve traditional hand knitting, because a lot of what's happening with Walmart and those big box stores, it's taking away jobs from women and people who can create valuable things. And so she's got a vision to equip people to learn how, and even just in 3 months, we've gone from a small audience to over 10,000, 20,000 people with Facebook ads. So I want to encourage you, whatever your business story is right now, you can accelerate it, right? You need certain things in place to make that happen. But the beauty of all three of these companies is they had definitely connection to communities, a lot of networking events, but then managing that, right? Because you don't want to just be connected to people and not manage, and because you can make better decisions when you can understand where your points of leverage are or whatnot. But I'm so inspired by her, because her vision, it's not for the future, it's to preserve the past. And so what is it about the past that you know to be true and wholesome and good that you want to preserve? What is it about your business story that you want to pass on to the next generation? Is it dinner parties? Is it mission trips? Is it how to budget better? What are those things you want to pass on? And I want to encourage you to dream big. My vision, I'm going to share with you, I'm working on, the paper in front of you where there's the straight lines, right? So we've had, since 1961, there have been straight lines like this. This is the past, the part of the future I want to change. I don't know if you can see this. I've got a couple here if we want. See these little square boxes? I don't know if you can see them. Micro content is kind of the wave of the future in terms of social media and digital marketing and Instagram, and having small tidbits of content that people can share. They can text each other, they can repin, they can just share with their network, right? It's how do you serve, how do you support? My vision is for people to start creating content that's remarkable, that's useful, that's wholesome, that's motivational, that gets people to understand, the core of their business through this micro content, because it can be done. It's not happening in every industry. I love that there's actually a couple financial guys here, because I've got a new calling to help transform the financial industry from a creative standpoint. I believe that every woman should be able to generate $10,000 in a month if she needs to. Right? So if you've ever, whether it's lost a spouse or been in domestic violence, or you've had you lost a job, women should be equipped, men should be equipped too, to go out and create value in the marketplace where they can generate revenue. So they can not be a burden to society or to their family, and that they just could be equipped to do good things. Because once you have that skill, whether it's knitting or creating courses or learning to sell and being comfortable with selling, it empowers people to then go out and live what they're called to do, and then serve other people who are on their calling. So with that, I encourage you to keep working on your vision, and if you have any questions for me later, I would love to answer them. Thank you so much for your time today.